Morning, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us on a pretty frosty winter morning, even a few days before winter. But thanks for joining us for our bi-weekly For the Record St. Albans Today show. Very happy to have on the panel St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith.
Hello.
Morning, Mr. Mayor. And I just saw a vehicle pull in, so perhaps we'll see Brendan Deso, the St. Albans Town Select Board Chair, in a moment. Yeah, it feels like winter. Winter officially checks in Monday morning, I think 5:02 a.m., but pretty solid winter morning out there today. Pretty cold day yesterday, Tom.
Yeah, I got, I know winter's here when I start flooding my rink, Richard, so.
Is that right?
I've got 3 floods in. I put one on this morning. Hose is running now, so.
Really?
Hopefully we will sustain some cold weather and be able to utilize it.
Yeah, it might be nice to get some snow, especially with very cold weather. I hate it. Bare ground and very cold temps don't work well. Plumbers are probably busy enough. And Brendan Deso, the St. Albans Town Select Board Chair, joining us. Morning, Brendan.
Good morning.
Well, Brendan.
Let's start with, so we have a new police chief. In fact, I heard his name mispronounced on radio. Morris Mo Lamute was the new chief, according to the radio folks at WVNT. But again, Morris Mo Lamute, now officially in as the permanent St. Albans police chief.
And the radio station struggle with Franklin County names, as we saw with Mr. Deso.
In fact, Brendan, I meant to, you got to tell those guys. Are you going to go through your life being Brendan Deso?
No, I'm going to go through my life being Brandon Deso. That's what's going to happen to me.
Jeez, I think you need to tell those guys about your last name.
I love Marcus and Kurt. That one was a little nail on a chalkboard when we were there, but,
Yeah. No, they're the folks I wake up to every morning, but that's a good point. They've had some problems with Franklin County names. But anyway, Tim, a unanimous decision by the council?
Yeah, no, the council has been enthused with what Mo has been doing since he took over. I guess it's been about 6 months now. He, the officers, they enjoy working with him, and just the comments I believe all the council received throughout the last 3 or 4 months, there was not a bad comment about the chief. So we're excited. He's excited to get started, and he's already initiated a few things. One being a community police officer, which is sort of a hybrid between the school resource officer and then the community. So when schools aren't in session on Wednesday, they're doing outreach to some of the homeless population and having those conversations. So we're excited, and we think we can move past our past on some of the other issues, and we've been working with MRI as well to review policies, and we've already addressed a couple of those.
And again, that's the outside firm kind of reviewing the department and its policies, and they're still doing their thing?
They are. And then we finally we pulled together the Police Advisory Commission, and they were waiting to sort of kick it in high gear, but until the new police chief came on board. So there's 7 individuals that will make up the advisory commission, and we think that will be, it's a great makeup, good balance, good diversification of skills. So we think that's going to be a good addition as well. So I think as far as that goes, we're sitting pretty well.
And staffing, of course, about a half year away from losing the contract with St. Albans Town, but staffing, you're doing okay at this point, the department?
Yeah, we when this town contract goes away, we will have an excess of officers.
Right.
So any attrition that we have, we're not filling in at this time.
Right.
We'll make do with overtime.
Right.
So.
Brendan, biggest news in St. Albans Town. What's going on in the town?
We're moving forward with phase 2 pre-development for a new town hall. We had our first major site visit yesterday at the Brown property off of Georgia Shore. The builders gave us permission to purchase. So we hired a civil engineer. Sam Ruggiano put in a very, very, very competitive bid, and he's our civil engineer for this project, getting us through site plan. We have a geotechnical company coming out to do borings on the property, in the first week of January, so we can get that information back over to the building architects so they can design a foundation that fits the soils. There's quite a bit going on. We're very fortunate to have voter approval to get this far. We should have a cost estimate in line with current pandemic pricing sometime in mid to late January for the ballot. So as soon as we know what that number is going to be, we'll be broadcasting it. Corey Parent, our new director of operations, our state senator, we've tasked him with putting together kind of a outreach or campaign plan for the new town hall. We want to make sure that voters, even though they can't attend meetings in person with us, have every opportunity to be informed and ask questions. So we're probably going to do 3 rounds of mailers in February to all of our voters so that they can look and see what we're talking about, and then they'll have our contact information right there in front of them to be able to call or email and ask any question they may have.
And again, no hit on property taxes for the new municipal building,
Yeah, I
town hall?
think, we'll probably float the idea of a 10 or 15-year note. Our town clerk and treasurer, Anna Borden, is working on trying to figure out what debt structure would work out best for us. And we'll definitely have over $1 million. We might have closer to 2 to put down in cash by the time the project gets funded. So we're working to, keep the local option tax going in the bank so that we can put as much down on this new house as we can. And we'll finance the balance. And I think the way that the board's made up now and the revenue that we see off the local option tax being as high as it is, we could try to pay that off within the next 5 to 10 years, even if the note's 15. We've got a capital improvement plan for the local option tax that spends about 75% of what our annual revenue is and puts 25% into reserves. And that'll help us fund things like sidewalks, which we desperately need in certain parts of the community, like St. Albans Bay. It'll help us fund, some parks and rec upgrades to the Bay Park, Cohen Park, the town forest, and it'll help us. It'll really help us fund the town hall. We've got $250,000 a year in that plan for the next 10 years, so that should more than pay off what we owe. And then we'll be sitting on a state-of-the-art municipal public works facility in a town hall, both under 10, 15 years old, that we own free and clear. We paid cash for that public works facility, so the town's sitting in a pretty advantageous position. We've got over a $1 billion grand list. We've got some exciting projects coming before our DRB, one in particularly on this end of town. As you saw when you drove in today, there's a new commercial development happening up here in Franklin Park West.
And what is that?
So that's a company that's actually building out the DFA expansion. They have a site on Beauregard Drive right now that they've outgrown. They do a lot of commercial masonry work in the Chittenden County area and just giant projects. So they're going to build basically twice the facility that they need, and they're going to rent out half of it. So not only will we have a new, better state-of-the-art home for an existing town business here on the north end, we'll also have space to recruit somebody else to come in too. So it's just utilizing what we have in the pipeline for development. When we get the town hall put behind us, the conversation will probably turn to what do we do with the fire station? Do we do a district with other municipalities? Should we upgrade the one on Lake Road into a satellite or make that the main station forever? We'll get the fire department involved and start doing some capital planning. We know we're a little vulnerable out on this end of town where all our commercial development seems to be concentrated, so that's been a long-held concern. So we'll see if the voters approve the town hall in March, where those discussions go. But other than that, Richard, we're, the Bay Park looks beautiful. Public Works did an excellent job decorating it.
I really want to give kudos to the city and town. I walk in the Bay Park just about every day. I was down there pretty frosty last evening, but I usually wait till late afternoon, early evening to take advantage of the beautiful lights. But great job in the Bay Park and Taylor Park. It's especially with the coronavirus situation, nice to see some great Christmas lights out there.
Yeah, we're lucky. We have one of the best municipal staffs in the state. We just barely got back to full strength after being, down a hand or two since the beginning of September. We lost our planner at the beginning of September, our zoning administrator, like 17 years, Becky Perrin, retired September 25th. We just hired a new zoning administrator that started in person on Monday. She relocated here from Ohio and wanted to move to Vermont. I had a great conversation with her yesterday. Her name's Megan Sherlin. All indications are that she's going to fit in great with our team and be an excellent help. You know, one of the best parts about having Becky was sometimes the answer was no, but the process to get there was always how can we make it be yes, and if it's no, then it has to be no. And I think Megan will fit in the same way. You know, the goal is always just to help people do what they want to do, and you know, if it's not possible, it's not possible. But you know, we want a can-do attitude.
I should note, this is a live show. If you happen to be watching us live and love a call, don't usually get any phone calls, but love a phone call. 528-5315 is our number. Tim, the downtown project, again, CCV has moved into the new building on North Main. The apartment buildings are getting fairly close to completion, or what's the story?
No, the Champlain housing ones are looking for applicants now.
Yeah.
I haven't seen where anyone has moved in yet, but that is complete.
So complete.
And the other one is working through.
It's close.
They still have a ways to go with the interior. But the brick was going up on the outside of both of them last week, I think it was. And a lot of compliments, a lot of people like it. You know, it's 60 apartments that when we get up and running again, it should make a difference.
Well, the building where CCV moved into the new building on North Main, Northwestern Medical Center, at least initially, originally was going to take some of that space, and they're not taking any of that? Are you looking for folks?
It depends how you look at it, Richard. CCV's in there, and many of them are still working remotely.
Yeah.
But then the third floor is for the nurses training school.
Yeah.
And that's a collaboration between the hospital and VTC. So, and they're taking, I think it's 8,000 square feet. So originally they were going to take 12, and then the health and wellness division of the hospital was going to be up there, and the hospital changed their mind on that. So there's 4,000 feet vacant, and we've been in discussion with the developer, and we've talked about a co-worker space, but once again, with the way things are, that's not a priority right now. So yeah, I think, just me talking, I think that 4,000 will get picked up pretty quickly. You know, either CCV needs additional space, or the hospital finds another use for it.
I've been asked you about Hampton Inn for months. How's Hampton Inn been faring with the pandemic?
Yeah, they've been holding their own. I was in there the other day, and you know, they have a contract with Barry Callebaut where they have a number of temp employees that have come in from outside the state that have to they quarantine, and then they go to work on a temp basis for Barry Callebaut. So I think they had 20 of those individuals renting rooms that Barry Callebaut's paying for. So that's helped them get through this a little bit, and then, you know, hopefully if that contract holds true until the end of March, maybe things will change a little bit.
That'd be
But
nice.
they're holding their own. I mean, they're so.
Downtown in general, I think you can say that about at least most of the folks downtown in these strange times.
Yeah, actually, you know, I had I've 3 conversations, Bayberry Cottage, As the Crow Flies, and Eaton's. And Bayberry and Eaton's said that this has been one of their best Christmas seasons ever. And then same, As the Crow Flies has had a great year as well on the small shop Saturday, I guess it is, or Friday. That out of 8 years since Jess has been open as the Crow Flies, this was her 3rd busiest. So it appears that people are making a point to buy local and shop local, and we've seen that with those businesses. They've all are very pleased with the way their holiday season has gone.
Yeah. Brendan, I'll start with you. The community swimming pool seems to be getting coming back for a little bit of attention. Is this possible to bring that back for another March vote, or tell us about that?
So the city is taking that project will be a city project. It'd be in front of only city voters.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a joint city-town project?
Yeah, it'll still be located in Hardack. We're going to benefit from that. I'm sure the user rates will be a little bit higher for town residents, and over time, we can talk about maybe adjusting the recreation reimbursement to include the pool. If we can get some data that show that town residents are using it, and that there would be a benefit. So the mayor and I had a great conversation maybe a month or two ago. He gave me the heads up that they were thinking about bringing it forward around this time. And I just said, hey, our voters, they spoke in the spring. We've got a lot of priorities in front of us that are going to cost, altogether several millions of dollars. We're really lucky that we have no outstanding debt, but we also have a lot of assets that, for lack of a better term, have been kind of run into the ground. And we've got to rectify that. And then as soon as we get done rectifying our own municipal assets and our parks, it's going to turn into how do we expand sidewalks? How do we work with the city to expand water and sewer? And what can we do as a municipality to encourage private sector growth to grow that grand list? Because if we don't see several millions of dollars added to that grand list every year, there's no way we're going to keep tax rates stable for the next 10 years. I mean, we talk about a fire department, one of the most gripping conversations that we're going to have as a community within the next 5 to 10 years in St. Albans town is what do we do when our volunteer well, starts to dry up a little bit and we have to go to a semi-professional department. 4 firefighters can cost you over $500,000. By the time you put workers' comp and all that on, that raises our tax rate, 5 cents, just that one decision. And there's more than just that conversation to be had. So we're going to try to not throw a lot of eggs into any baskets. We're going to try to, remain the municipality that, if it takes on any debt, it pays it off very quickly. Corey's been working with Alan Mashtair and Carrie Johnson to develop a long-term strategy and a capital plan for us to be able to, increase what we're saving every year into the local option, not the local option, the Department of Public Works Equipment Reserve, and how we want to fund that, so that we can continue to pay cash for all of our public works equipment in perpetuity. We're lucky. We don't owe a nickel on any fire apparatus or any Department of Public Works piece of equipment at all. We don't owe a nickel in the garage. So we want to keep it that way. And in doing so, we're probably going to try to, maybe take on a big project, wait a couple years, bank up some cash, pay some things down, think things through, do another project. Then in 10 years, we should be looking at a pretty different town.
And speaking of the town fire department, nice lights, nice Christmas lights on the department building. I don't remember them from years past. Have they been there for a while?
No, B Squad came in. They're not doing the regular Monday night meetings due to COVID, but the B Squad came in and they did an excellent job decorating the building.
Very nice.
Public Works, Alan Mashtair, John Monting, Jeff Roby, all the guys down there did a great job.
Yeah.
The downtown looks great. And, I think the town, I think I can speak for at least a quorum of the select board when I say we wish the city the best with their pool. We hope it's a successful process for you all. And, we got to focus on our own priorities at the moment. That's all.
Tim, let's talk pool. So again, this may come up in March for a vote?
It's pretty definite that it will.
Pretty definite.
We will have 4 items to Brendan's point when you look at costs that are going to be presented before the voters. So we have pretty much 4. You have basically the budget, which is we're working through that now. It looks like we might have a 2-cent increase on that just to get through the COVID piece. We have the additional construction of another water tank up on Congress.
Yeah.
To help with that, to help with the water system there. And that's about a $3 million bond vote is the expectation. We have a TIF vote coming forward to redo the Kingman Street streetscape. And then lastly is the pool. So the pool, we're looking to utilize some of the local option tax as well to offset that cost. The discussion we had Monday night at the council meeting was The plan that was presented is a seasonal pool. It's not one that was originally presented a year ago that talked about a dome, even though it could have a dome added later. So we've asked the city manager and his team to go back and see what we think. I think the council was in unison when I say that I think the expectation is people want that year-round pool. I think that would make a difference from my perspective. That's sort of what we passed 2-1 the first time around, even though it might have been at half the cost. So we think that if we came forward with a seasonal pool, we'd have some pushback. So we're evaluating the cost to go back to the dome situation as well. But the seasonal pool is all laid out. In conjunction with that, what we're looking at doing is investing more money into Houghton Park as well, because if the pool moves to Hardack, access may be difficult for some people on the west side of town. So we're trying to, we're going to look at some options down Houghton, maybe upgrading the Houghton Park building for bathrooms, a snack bar, some indoor activity space, and then potentially maybe a splash pad or something similar to that at Houghton that could be utilized as well. But in addition, we will still be providing transportation from throughout the city to the pool. So those are some details we're working through. But I think the council's excited about the upgrades of Houghton Park. As I said, growing up.
I appreciate the 2 tennis courts here, because I certainly use them in at Barlow Street. I appreciate that.
Houghton's a great location, a lot of land. As I shared with them growing up, I think Messenger Street School, Barlow, used to have rec coordinators there where you could just do a drop-in. So, kids from the neighborhood would just show up at Messenger Street School. There'd be a rec coordinator there to do crafts or organize games or whatever the case might be. And I think that's sort of the vision we're looking at for Houghton Park as well. So I think both obviously will be huge additions to recreation, and we're looking forward to the working through the details on the pool.
If you got approval for the pool, if that does indeed come up at March town meeting, would that be ready for 2022? And you know the rough time frame on that?
Yeah, I think we talked about timeline last Monday night, and that's pretty much what we're looking at. We'll be hard pressed to get another year out of the pool.
But the hope is you can get another year out of the pool?
Another year this year, and while that's going on, we will look to break ground up at Hardack.
Interesting. How are we doing with the old Fonda Solo site, the future home, hopefully, of the Railroad Dispatch Center?
Yeah,
Any news on
we had an update on a lot of projects. That wasn't one of them Monday night. I think it's still in limbo. I think I might have shared last time I was here that the individual that we worked with from the Genesee, Wyoming, retired. But on top of that, they sold again. It's amazing how many times the railroad has sold over the last 10 or 15 years. So we're sort of waiting for that dust to settle, build some relationships, and have the conversation again. I can tell you that the local entity, the rail dispatch, is advocating for it and are supporting it for sure. But it's a bigger discussion than that. It has to go to corporate. So.
Right. One other, we haven't talked about the USCIS, U.S. Customs Immigration Center. I meant to check with one of my friends who's worked there forever. How are those employees? Have you got a feel for that? There are concerns about furloughs and...
Yeah, well, those have all seemed to pass.
Yeah.
Have passed. The bigger issue is 2 weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, they had an 8-inch water pipe burst underneath their foundation.
Wow.
So what happened is that burst, and it ran for, the security found it about 3:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And our crews got down there and shut it down. I think it was probably about an hour and 15 minutes that an 8-inch water line ran.
Wow.
And when that happened, ultimately came up through the floor, through the walls, and with it came all that dirt and mud underneath, and the hallways, major cleanup. So I think most everyone's working remotely. There's a YMCA childcare facility in that building that was also flooded and lost their space. And a friend reached out to me and asked if I had any thoughts or suggested the use of the CCV building on North or South Main. And we weren't going to begin construction. They're working through the planning phases and permitting. So that building was available for probably till the end of March. And so the city stepped up and offered that. The space is beautiful. I checked in yesterday. So you had 30 kids, 30 families that could have been without childcare because of the flood. And the city offered up the CCV building, and it was a smooth, I think the childcare was out of business for a week. They transitioned into the CCV building. As I said, 30 families were in need, and the staff of the childcare could not have been happier, and it worked out beautifully. So
Good. Glad to hear that. Down to about 3 minutes. Brendan, the old Public Works garage site. Any, again, kind of concisely here, anything new on that for the future?
Well, we parked there yesterday for that site visit and walked from there to the other property on Georgia Shore where the town hall will be. And we stood where the town hall was and said, it makes a lot of sense to put 24 or so parking spots in front of this new building and then have some type of a shared use path going directly through Wharf Street over to that property and then keeping a section of that always paved for overflow parking. So if you have a big public meeting and need 50 spots, you have them, but it's not something that you have to have open in perpetuity. And it keeps us under an acre of impervious surface for this project to do it that way, which, it's going to save us some money on a stormwater discharge permit, and then it allows us to stay under a certain number of parking spaces for a public water supply permit. So we're working through the minutia now. But the future of that is, we hired a state senator to help us, and I think one of his special projects, as he's the director of operations and special projects, one of those projects might be, especially when he's down in the legislature next month through the spring, is can you get us in touch with the folks and the powers that be at the state level to help turn that into a boat launch and see what that could look like. Also, how do we put the progress we were making on the Route 36 takeover as a Class 1 town highway, and then the infrastructure improvements, how do we put that back in motion? So, we'll have essentially an inside man helping us work our priorities through the state, and along the way he can help out other towns that he represents. So it's really, I applaud the manager, Kerry Johnson, for hiring him and having the vision to, know that just because somebody's not going to be at their desk 3-4 days a week doesn't mean that that person can't be extremely effective for our mission and for our projects. So,
Yeah, sounds like that might be pretty useful on a number of fronts.
yeah, and I'm sure he'll be looking, if he represents the city of St. Albans and most of Franklin County and Alberg, so I'm sure, he'll get some, more municipal knowledge and be able to better help everybody in his circle. But
And his hiring, that was a town manager's decision.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Down to under a minute. Tim, anything you want to quickly touch on we haven't brought up?
no,
Kind
just
of a weird Christmas coming in.
we're just thank you to the residents, for supporting the downtown and other aspects. There's been a lot of thank yous and comments for the lights downtown in the park. So people are appreciating the efforts of the city and the town, from what I can see. Probably being a little more patient than usual, but I think their willingness to be patient is what we'd like to thank them for.
Okay, on that note, thanks to St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith, St. Albans Town Select Board Chairman Brendan Diesel. Thanks for your time, and again, our last show of the year. We'll be back hopefully on January 6th. But folks, in these strange times, try to have a good Christmas and happy, healthy New Year. And thanks to Roger. See ya. Richard Cowperthwait says so long.